Hello everyone. Today I'm in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and the other day I put a poll up on my YouTube channel here asking people what they wanted to see a video on here in Gettysburg. And the vote that won was the monuments of Gettysburg. Now, Gettysburg National Battlefield Park is a pretty big area, and I believe that according to the National Park Service there are over 1,300 monuments and plaques throughout the park. So obviously I can't show you everyone today, but I'm going to show you an area, Cemetery Hill and around Culp's Hill, and show you some of the monuments. And if you like the video, I'll go around and film other locations around Gettysburg and kind of make this a series, I guess, and do a different area each time. Right now I'm on Cemetery Hill and it's snowing out here. It's sunny, but it's snowing. And I'll show you around Cemetery Hill first, and then we'll go over to Culp's Hill. This monument right here is for Major General Winfield Scott Hancock. And Winfield Scott Hancock took control here on Cemetery Hill after General John Reynolds was killed. And he was the most senior officer here at the time before General Meade got here. Cemetery Hill was a very important spot for defense that the Union Army felt, because you can see out that way, that's where a lot of the fighting happened on day one. And then over through Evergreen Cemetery, you could see the other part of the battlefield at the time. So this is for Major General Winfield Scott Hancock. Also, this monument was placed here in the year 1896. So again, this is the monument here at Cemetery Hill for Major General Winfield Scott Hancock. Here's the monument for Major General Oliver Otis Howard. This was placed here in 1932. Now, Oliver Otis Howard, he took over when John Reynolds was killed here on the first day of the battle. He took command until Winfield Scott Hancock got here. Now, there are obviously more Union monuments here in Gettysburg than Confederate monuments, but here around Culp's Hill, where I am now, you're going to see a lot of Confederate monuments. So this one right here is for the Army of Northern Virginia, 2nd Army Corps, Johnson's Division. And most of these monuments like this that are for a regiment, they actually go into some pretty good detail to tell you exactly what they were doing. So as you can see, it has July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then July 4th. And it also says at the bottom the casualty count, how many were killed, wounded, missing, and the total amount. Obviously, casualties include men that maybe deserted, men that died, men that maybe were taken prisoner of war, they weren't counted, all that stuff. This is the state of Indiana monument. It was placed here in the year 1971, which honestly looks pretty good. I don't know if it's had any restoration work done, but there were 552 casualties, as you can see on the monument right there. And some of the first casualties of the Battle of Gettysburg were men from Indiana. So this monument is for those men. Alright, and as the sign says right here, right ahead is Spangler Spring. Now you can see right there, that's the spring right there. But let me go up to this sign real quick. Obviously, I'm trying not to make this video too long. I want you guys to be able to take in what I'm showing you. But if you want to pause the video and read about the spring right here. So here's the spring right here. This was a supply of water for both the Union and Confederacy there in the battle. You see it has a lock right there, National Park Service. There was some fighting around this area if you read that sign that I had up. Now this is a monument for the 2nd Maryland Infantry. Now this was actually the 1st Maryland Infantry. This is a Confederate monument. The reason it says 2nd Maryland Infantry instead of 1st Maryland Infantry is because there was also a Union Army 1st Maryland Infantry. And the Commission for Monuments did not want people to be confused. They were fighting Union Marylanders. So it was a Confederate Maryland regiment versus a Union Maryland regiment. So it was literally brother versus brother. You hear that all the time with the Civil War, but they were in the same state. They were from the same state and they were fighting each other. Now, my great-great-grandfather's brother, my second great-grandfather's brother, he was in the 1st Maryland Infantry Confederate Army. But I believe he wasn't here at Gettysburg. He served 1861, 1862, and then he came back around 1864 as a sergeant in the 2nd Maryland. But this monument is pretty interesting considering it literally was brother against brother, Marylander versus Marylander. And as you can see on the side, 52 were killed, 140 were wounded. And there you go. See, it says 1st Maryland Infantry on this side. You see, that's the Maryland flag crest right there. And this was one of the first Confederate monuments actually placed here in Gettysburg. So right here is the 1st Maryland Regiment. This is a monument for the Union Army's Maryland Regiment. And literally the 1st Maryland Regiment fought here against the 1st Maryland Confederate Regiment. So literally it was brother versus brother. And I like this monument too because it has the Maryland flag on it. And if any of you know any Marylanders or are a Marylander, you know we like our flag. And over here we have the casualties listed. So there were 23 killed, 80 wounded, and 1 missing for a total of 104 casualties. Here's a sign again on this area if you want to pause and read it. And right here, Brigadier General George S. Greene. He was the oldest federal general at Gettysburg, which is amazing to think. He mustered out of the army in 1866, and he died in 1899 at age 97. So standing right here, there's a lot of different monuments here for regiments that were here trying to get to the top of the hill. And you can just imagine the fighting that took place and the shelter that these rocks probably provided. These rocks are essentially the same type of rocks that are down at Devil's Den. You find them all over Gettysburg. They're naturally here. And obviously these rocks were here during the battle. So you just imagine the fighting that took place right here. And these rocks probably did provide a lot of shelter for whoever was trying to defend the hill, which the hill, obviously, if you read the sign I just showed you, was occupied by the Union Army for the entire battle. But just imagine all the troops trying to run up this hill right here through these woods and all that. Like, I don't know about you, but I can just picture it. I can just picture all the fighting right here. But that's why all these monuments are here. Now, initially when I started this video, I planned to try to show you every monument in this area, but honestly, I don't know if we have time to show you every monument just because there are so many. But I'm trying to stop along the way and at least show you some of the more interesting looking ones, or ones that have stories I know about personally and I can share with you. So I'm going to climb up this tower now, all the way to the top. And I never actually climbed up here before. So I'll see you guys at the top, and let's see the view we have from up there. I made it to the top, everyone. It's a pretty cool view up here. So let me show you guys around. So right out here you have essentially the town of Gettysburg. All the buildings and the mountains way out in the background. Then when I go over to this side, you have the Gettysburg Visitor Center. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit, but my camera doesn't focus too well. So right there's the Visitor Center. And then out there, that's the Pennsylvania Monument, the big monument on the battlefield. You have straight ahead of me, that's the Evergreen Cemetery. And the National Soldier Cemetery is out there, the mountains. And it's pretty quiet out here. So if you ever came here in the summertime and you climbed up the same tower, you probably had a lot of people up here with you. But right now, I'm just completely alone. Because no one wants to come out when it's 30 degrees out in the winter. So yeah, guys, made it to the top. We go back to the bottom, look around at some more of the monuments. The regiments that were up here at the top were all Union, and they were defending the hill, essentially. So right here in front of me, you have this monument for the 7th Indiana Infantry. This is the monument for the 76th New York Infantry. This is a monument for the 95th New York Infantry. So I just came down from the hill, and essentially up over there is where we started at today, Cemetery Hill. You can see the shape of the hill now. And this is going to be the last stop for today. Again, I don't want to make this video too long. But I will make this a series if you guys like this video. Comment below if you want to see more like this. I'll go out in other parts of the battlefield and I'll film more monuments and things like this. Obviously, I want to do it during the winter months when there are fewer people out here, so that you can kind of get more of that intimate feeling with the land and you don't have to deal with buses and loud people walking around and everything. But if you guys like this, just leave a comment below.